Hello, 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 and welcome to another Daily Code Fun. I am One Lion, and we have been having a ton of fun. I would say it's fun. Not working on the project that we're doing on stream, instead discussing things that keep coming up related to the project, which is awesome. I was really hoping that we would get around to doing stuff like that and having some real conversations about what is, sorry, I'm looking away from you. I'm trying to get my screens organized. What is a good approach for how to do things? How do we standardize what we are doing? What we're doing, so that we can have good practices and we can, have some kind of reference to go back to, I guess, in the future. Or yeah, here's some good choices that we made. At least I hope they're good choices that we've made so far. And we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it all. Um, yeah. Just as a PSA, just a reminder that the rant room is for ranting, not for trying to justify the rantee's subject. So yeah, you'll see some messages in the rant room currently. It's about anyway. I was just trying to be empathetic with my response so that Duso knows that you are in the right place to rant and you have someone that understands your situation, kind of thing. Anyway, hello Tyron. Hello Deflux. Deflux is here. Deflux has been having some issues. If anyone does have any insight on using Azure Active Directory, it was Azure Active Directory, right? With Maui, if they can help them out. From what I understand, it shouldn't be too much different than having it's in the rant room in Discord. It shouldn't be too much different than having a client-side Blazor application and trying to use authentication with it. I haven't tried it yet. Again, I did message you and I said I haven't tried it yet, but I would absolutely let you know if there was anything that came to mind, but there was nothing off the top of my head or anything that I researched so far. But he's trying to follow some tutorials. He posted a bunch of really good links that I'm really interested in looking at. But in following them, there were just some errors that came up that weren't in the specific tutorial because the tutorial was targeting something like multi-tenancy and all of this stuff. Zulius might have given you a nice chunk of code that to try. That's cool. Thank you so much, Zulius. But Dukasoft is here. Zulius was here before the stream even started. You have to extract the token that we already got. That's cool. And then you just somehow need to put it into the HTTP client. There was a good Nick Chapsis video that just came out that might be relevant to this. And it has to do with the way that we are instantiating our JOTs. This one. Not our JOTs, instantiating our HTTP clients. And so instead of using a class that has like a public client and a private client, you just pass in the iHTTP client factory and you instantiate your named client. You could have them as typed clients as well, but I like the idea of using a named client that you instantiate using, so this one right here, using a HTTP client provider or client factory so that in the constructor you're actually instantiating that one, and at that point in time you might even find a anyway, this is at least the screen. Thank you, Tyron. Baseball. But yeah, I mean, it's in the link that I provided. So I just was skipping to the timestamp, which is somewhere around 8 minutes and 50 seconds where he's setting that up. But you're injecting the HTTP client factory so that when you need either your public client or one that reaches to some other API that you don't own, but you want to set this one up for that, all of the configuration is done in program.cs still, including setting up your bearer token. So maybe you have some kind of token provider that can be used when setting up, when instantiating or getting an existing HTTP client named secure client or whatever you want to call it. And don't use client factory for Maui, but a singleton because mobile devices are good enough at handling HTTP clients themselves. Okay, that's cool. Yeah, you can do auth and non-auth. And not only that, but you can make the auth and non-auth typed client. So that's the first thing that he does with this weather API client is he just makes a typed version of it first. So right here in iWeather client, that is an open weather client. And this one points to just this API. But you can imagine a situation where you're reaching out to a whole bunch of different APIs. Maybe something that gives you, I don't know, stock data from an API or whatever. So if you have a lot of typed APIs, it may just be better and you need to access them all within one service or something. I don't know why, but then you can just instantiate the either the typed, I guess it could still be typed, and then you just use the client factory down here before you make your HTTP request, and then you just ask for it by type instead of by name. So whatever, whichever one works. I gave premature advice and I'm now Googling for best practices for Maui. Are there currently established best practices for Maui yet? There's quite a few things that are yet to be established. But anyway, Dugasoft is rebooting his coffee client. So anyway, I just thought that that was a pretty good idea, pretty good approach. For doing HTTP client. He provides a few alternatives or a few options and some pretty good reasons on why those are better options and when to use it. So best practices are to establish best practices. Well played. So anyway, we were playing around with this financial management app. Last time we didn't do I mean, we haven't been doing very much work at all in the app. We've just been making decisions, which I think is just as helpful and just as beneficial. One of the decisions that we made last time was when we're creating our localization strings, we are using kind of like the way that you would name a variable for the name of the, I'm waiting for it to load so I can drag it over. Yes. Not only that, but you need at least 5 years of experience with Maui to get a job to do Maui development. What? So Dugasoft said you need a minimum 25 years of experience with Maui before you're allowed to give advice. Yes. Um, yeah. So anyway, interesting stuff. I'm just scrolling through chat. Master Out was like, I don't have the Discordy thing you kids use. That's okay. You don't have to have it at all. No. If you want, I can start a Facebook group and we can just use that group to rant and only rant. Hello, DC Aggie. Hello, Abydus. I can't get a job because I have no experience. I have no experience because I can't get a job. Repeat. And it's like, it's either going to be school, which education experience only gets you so far, or prior work experience, which means that if you elected not to use formal education, not to get a degree, and you have been doing software development on your own projects, you have that experience because you've been doing real world projects, just not for anyone in particular. then it's like, how do you not rationalize that, but how do you explain that to an interviewer or a hiring official that it should count as experience? Excuse me. Like, let's say the only thing that you've done is streamed on Twitch, your software. Abbott says, or is it like we pay minimum wage but require 5 years of full stack? Why can't we find staff? That is my previous employer. And Abbott says, thankfully I'm just a hobby developer. Well, I hope you're having fun with it. I hope it hasn't gotten to a point where it just doesn't feel worth it, because I think it's worth it just to even be a hobby developer. It's like, if you're into model aircrafts or just models in general and painting them, it's like you're not doing it for pay, you're not doing it for recognition. You're doing it because you enjoy it. And maybe because you want to show it off to people on occasion. But yeah, oh yeah, Carl Hendricks was here. Carl Hendricks said earlier, good afternoon to you. Took your advice at the start of internship, and now I got a return offer. Congratulations on that. Fantastic, super duper cool. Zulia says, did I hear start a Facebook group unsub unfollow? Shake your head. Nope. He noped out of that one. I don't even know what the Facebook is. And Abaddis is congratulating Carl Hendricks. Super duper cool. Okay, so we're going to try our best to at least get something done that we can see on screen. So I started putting together the login form, and I'm like, you know what? We aren't going to have a functioning login form, so I really just need to back out of we have to get this login form perfect, because it's probably going to get shifted somewhere else anyway. So we're just going to be kind of lazy with it. It's sketched out, so now all we have to do is style it to make it look like this. And to do that, I'm going to give our cards a basic styling. So what I would normally do when creating components, such as in a card component, is I would create a SAS file that would give the card component a isolated CSS. It would compile to an isolated CSS file here. And that SAS file would go in a folder called SAS. So I'm wondering if maybe we can structure our CSS just a little bit smarter so that we can group our SAS, our sassy SAS, with the component it belongs with. So let me just show you what I mean real quick. I would normally have a SAS folder, not inside of there though. It would be at the root. There's already a folder named SAS. Oh, I am at the root. Okay. And I would have a SAS file called card component or something. And then when I compile this, so I'm using an extension in Visual Studio called Web Compiler. I love it, love it, love it. It was originally written by Maz Christensen. But he didn't port it over to Visual Studio 2022, but thankfully someone else did, because I am so used to using this thing. This Jason Moore ported it to Visual Studio 2022, and I am really grateful for that. But yeah, this thing allows you to configure, here's my input file, and here's what I want it to output as. And for us, it's just going to be our card folder, card.razor.css. And what that does for us is it creates the CSS version of our SAS. So what that means is we can have a card and we can have deep, because every other component inside of card is going to be a child component. of card. I forgot to do that. No, I didn't. It's right here. So nested inside of here, if it's a VS extension, how does it work in a CI/CD build pipeline? You ignore that. You don't check in the compiler config or the, well, I mean, you check in the SAS, but you're not compiling the SAS itself in CI/CD. You have the generated CSS. So the generated CSS is just part of your project. Card body. Wait, I'm doing it alphabetically. Card header, card body. And now here's something that I would need to consider, because I'm allowing in this current structure, I'm allowing any combination of card header, card body, card text, card link, card footer inside of the card wrapper. Same thing with inside of card body. Card body, if I wanted to, could have card header, card text without another card inside of it, because I'm not constraining the card itself to have any specific structure, because we're just going to use it the way that we use it. Once again, I do want to draw your attention to a better implementation of card that is found in my GitHub repo in the Blazor component library in the card project. And so you can see where I'm saying when I'm creating a card component, that card component can at most have one card header, one card body, and one card footer. I don't know why this is syntax highlighted differently. And those child elements will need to register themselves to this card because it passes itself down as a cascading value. If I was even better, during the construction process of this, if I find more than one header, then I would throw a runtime error that says you can't have more than one header. You can't have a card text without a card body. So you don't even see card text or card link in here because those belong inside of card body. So if we took a look at card body, we'd see it's set up the same way as a card. And it renders out all of the, this is the one that kind of bites though. It renders out all of the card texts first, then all of the card links last. Maybe that's just how cards work. But this was from an example that I followed from DevExpress, and then it was adapted over time. But yeah, so the card component itself is kind of constraining its structure. It's making sure that it prints card header first, no matter what order you put it in when you are putting it on a page or something, or inside of another component. But here we're just saying everything is child content. We're not constraining it at all. So we'll just be careful. That's all. Best practices. So with that said, because I want to make sure that when I'm doing this, I have all of my card text inside of a card body and card links inside of a card body, I am going to put my CSS rules for them structured so that the card text and card link would only get applied when you have a structure of card, card body, card text, for example. Okay, and that said, we now have a card footer. So let's style the basic card real quick. And to do that, we're going to have both the current page showing as well as our SAS. So when I do this, I like to have, and it's kind of bad for me, but I like to have my tabs on the top so I can get that horizontal space back. Oh, you actually have to run me out. I'm like, where's the page? Oh my gosh. Not that much. Book of Faces. What? Coding with Scott is here. Are you on the Instantgrams? I think I might have an Instantgram account. When I was wanting to watch live backstage footage of um, an artist that I was following, but he's disappeared, and I haven't used it in a million billion years. One thing that I want to do real quick, because I gave myself all of this space for the header on main, is I would like to open up our SAS for that. Oh, yeah. So the whole point behind this is my normal structure. I have a SAS folder with all of my SAS files that will compile based on the rules inside of my compiler config to the component that it belongs with. I'm wondering if I could make it look better by doing something like this, and then having it, we talked about the nesting that it does. And I have no idea how to get it nested properly automatically. So like I really, really could have sworn that I had a way. Oh wait, it did. It's because I had card component. No way you're more than a million billion years old. I know. I don't look it, do I? So yeah, so this is my thought. Maybe I should just go ahead and keep my SAS file with the component, just like we talked about last time, keeping the resx file with the component it belongs with, or the class even that it belongs with. You don't look a day over 100,000 billion years. I know. I know. Mm. You know what the secret is? Up by one error. He's a million billion minus one. The secret is good dental hygiene. That's all it takes. That's all it takes. He says while guzzling water. Okay, so I'm going to try this out for a while. We're going to see how this works for us. I'm still going to have all of my basic app CSS in this SAS folder here. I don't want to put it in my www root. Although, from what I understand, if like there are JavaScript frameworks where people only have SAS files, and then when they run the app, that's when the CSS files get generated, which is really cool. I just don't know how to do that myself, especially in a Blazor app. Nor am I interested in it. I'm not going to go down that route. But if you do want to talk about it, I will talk about it. I just don't want to. Okay, so I need to update this. That's what I'm trying to do. To be card.razor CSS. Okay, do you still compile? It does. There were no errors. And if I deleted this, we can verify that. Save again. Yeah, so we got our CSS back after I deleted it, and all I did was just recompile the SAS file. Great. So the thing that I was really looking for, though, that I was trying to talk about in my global styles, actually, I'm not exactly sure why. We created a random fake CSS? No. Yes. Maybe. Oh, I was already doing that. We already made that decision a while ago. Those of you that are watching in the future and you're like, you know what, you already decided that like 2 videos back. Um, good. We made the exact same decision. Go us. Oh, thank you, DC Aggie. Oh my goodness. So Masterette said it first. What a day. What a day. Actually, I'm having an interesting day. So I got a lot of work done in my work product, but an hour and a half of this morning was spent on an all hands meeting call where corporate people are talking about how we stand financially, what initiatives we have going on, and all of the things to make all of the employees hype about working at company. And it was still like, I don't really know why I'm here. I'm a highly self motivated individual. And that kind of just decreases my productivity, which is a terrible way to think. I know. I know. Let me do that. Okay, so I really don't know why this page is doing what it's doing. Why there's such a big sidebar. Oh yeah, I really need to stop interrupting myself because we were exactly where we need to be. My SAS files here are the ones that are determining how this page is laid out. So we weren't done laying that out. I would like to do that before we even style the login. To do that, let's fix main layout, which is currently a grid that has 2 rows, auto, and 1 free space row. And then it has a height of 100 VH, width 100 VW, overflow auto, but I would like overflow to be hidden. And I think I want to stop and restart it because I added a new code behind. What? This looks fine. Ship it. Thanks, Chickasoft. DC Aggie says, pours 11D a tall of grass. I can't. DC Aggie is trying to pour me a tall glass of focus, and I can't even read it to accept it. Oh my gosh. Oh, okay. What does our page structure actually look like? Our page structure looks like here is the page itself, which, yeah, if anyone has a better name for this class, then I would be happy to take it because, like, I'm kind of wanting to call the thing that gets put inside of here, I kind of want to call that page. So every single one of these, my index, my payment entry, transaction entry, I want to call these class page. I don't even know why you're there. You need to go away. Yeah, I don't even want article here. Man, what is this layout? Is this really the layout that I left? Oh. Oh, just financial management. Okay, so we have a top bar. I wasn't gonna give myself a sidebar. That's what the deal is. Yeah. And then I have the rest of my content, which is gonna be inside of main. So I'm gonna look at this. Duca soft page sounds better. But this is gonna be like the container for all of the pages. Juan Van is here. Hello, Juan Van. Looks usable. Thank you. Tyrant said, I concur. As stated before, it only needs flash and a hit counter. Otherwise, it's amazing. Awesome. Well, you were the only one that gave a suggestion. Can we call it Ducasoft? Ducasoft content wrapper. Then we get top bar. I don't want a sidebar. And main is going to be content. And then each body is going to be page. So let's put this class inside of our main layout. There we go. So that shouldn't change anything except we got rid of that sidebar. And inside of index, as I mentioned, I want all of my pages to be a page. So maybe we can call this article. Now we're using semantic HTML. Am I using it correctly? Does anyone know? Semantic HTML. And I keep looking at pictures and then I get confused because sometimes the pictures are just like, no. Main is actually inside of an article. Or sometimes main doesn't even exist inside of the picture. Okay, so yes. And the other thing is a side is outside of main, but you can have a sides inside of main. Blood drunk, what's going on? Good evening to you. Good morning still for me for another hour. TC Aggie says to Tyron, don't forget either a blink or scrolling marquee. Oh man, the whole scrolling marquee is going to be great. Is that bloatware HTML HP pre-installed on your PC? Oh. I love it. Main article. Yeah, so this is kind of the layout that I am using. I don't know. Well, it's from Medium, so it has to be reputable. But yeah, this is what we are essentially going to end up creating. You quit your job today. Would you like to expand on that? You are definitely welcome to. Okay. Yes sir, no sir, okay. So we have only 2 rows, which now we know is going to be the header and the main content. Inside of main content, that's where we're going to have all of our scrolling and everything allowed. So we'll put that in general. It's really hard to navigate with these tabs now that I'm so used to using side tabs. So I wanted to look back at you, make sure that we are doing that. Yeah. I don't like that I am wrapping everything inside of my layout inside of another div. But I have no other way of saying this is what my overall content is going to look like. Yeah, okay, I'm doing it. I do have another way, but I can't do it with isolated CSS. So you got offered a promotion to manage the team, but with no immediate pay increase and the stipulation of a promised increase in January 2023. So I thought about it, accepted, and signed the contract, which didn't increase my notice period. Now, a couple weeks later, I handed in my notice. I'll wait until you're done typing the whole thing, because this sounds like it's going to be crazy. How many divs does a web app need? One. Yeah, the thing that I don't like about this is we have our index.html div app div ID equals app. I mean, don't repeat yourself, right? Why do you need more than one div? Yes, master rat. Absolutely. Okay, so we are going to keep this div content wrapper. We will have our top bar and main content. So in my main layout, what I would like to do then is : deep, so that we can target our top bar. We kind of don't need that at the moment. Since I'm only doing essentially a 2-row main layout, what I'm used to doing is targeting each of the pieces and doing a grid template. Yeah, grid template. Is that what it's just called? Grid template areas. And then giving each section an area, a grid area. So grid templates would be something, in this case, like top bar main. Or top bar, and then on the next row main. And then I would specify my height for those 2 rows will be auto and then 1FR. And then when I get to here, then I would do something like deep top bar would have a grid area of top bar. And then since this is not actually inside of another component, the content, then main content is going to be grid area main. And if I wanted to, then I could have an aside or a nav, actually, is what I meant to say. I could have a nav that can be shown or hidden depending on my layout, because it'll be named. And if it doesn't appear in my grid template areas, then it's not going to show up, and I could just have it be display none. Otherwise, I could have some other button that'll add a class that says, if we are also showing our sidebar, then have our grid template areas be sidebar, sidebar, top bar, main kind of thing. But I don't know. I'll keep this for now, and then I'll question myself again in the future. Like, why did I choose to go ahead and verbosely make the grid template areas? So let's see what that looks like. What do you know? It looks the same. Oh my gosh, how dare. Top bar, I have a question. What type are you? We're gonna make you a, I don't know, what do people normally make the navigation bar that goes across the top? It's not really a nav menu, because in a lot of cases, like Blue Apron. Blue Apron's a good example. Here is a top bar, here's a hero section with text on it, and then here is content below it. This top thing in semantic HTML would technically be the nav menu. But apparently they're calling it header. Or they're using a header semantic tag. Interesting. And then for their main content, they just go ahead and use div class main. Close enough. Whatever. All right, it looks like Blood Drunk finished typing out his thing. I'm going to read it from the beginning again. He said, well, I quit my job today, or they said, I don't know if you're he or she or they. I quit my job today. So I got offered a promotion to manage the team, but with no immediate pay increase and the stipulation of a promised increase in January 2023. Thought about it and I was like, why not? I accepted and signed the contract, which didn't increase my notice period. So I don't know where this notice period thing came from though. Kind of confused on that notice period. So like you had already been thinking about quitting that job and then you got offered this promotion and then you put in a couple weeks later, you put in your notice period, took the improved job title. I said you put in your notice period. You put in your notice. And then I took the improved job title and my 15 years industry experience and accepted a job working as a systems architect for a larger company. So yeah, you did go work somewhere else where we now work exclusively with research projects for client companies and I will get paid my previous monthly salary in a week. Anything is better than a company that drives talent away by not paying to retain it. So screw 'em is my only thought. And then Master at responded to that saying, yeah, loyalty is wasted in the job market. Unfortunately, just get that bag, fun new project. I have a work email that just came in. Okay, it's nothing important. So what it sounds like is they were just trying to get you to do more responsibilities and not pay you for it for the next 6 months. How many months are left? Next 4 months. And so you decided, you know what, I'm going to go somewhere else since you guys are not going to appreciate the extra effort that you're asking me to put in. But I'm going to accept it because it is still a promotion. And if I don't find another job, then at least I have that. But instead, I'm going to go somewhere else that's going to pay me the same amount I'm making or something. Maybe they're actually, I don't know if you indicated whether that new job is paying the same or more. I need to stop looking at this food. This chicken looks amazing. But it makes sense. I mean, I was working at a place, my previous job. So to repeat myself, congrats. I was working my previous job that was not paying me anywhere near what a senior application developer working on 9+ applications should be getting paid. But the atomicity, is that the word, of the work I really enjoyed. The freedom to choose what technologies I'm working in was amazing. I set the requirements. I had fun doing the actual work itself, even though there was a lot and I was working a lot more hours than I should have been. Autonomy. Oh my gosh, that's the word. Master Ed says, I just say freedom. The freedom to choose what to work on, what technologies to use, and yeah, just freedom. And they were paying me probably somewhere around 70% of what I should have been making, maybe even less. And I didn't mind it. Again, freedom of choice. I didn't know if that was a right under that one. But I still ended up being like, I'm not fully done with the projects to the point that I want to be because that was the thing that was really holding me there. I have, again, I mentioned it in Discord. I really have this kind of integrity complex. I'm going to call it a complex because it's like I pride myself on having integrity. Um, so if I can prove that I have integrity, then I'm going to do it. And my integrity was I'm going to modernize these applications for you. And okay, fine, I'll get the damn Discord. Um, sorry, Master Hat. That wasn't trying to get you to buy into it. No, it'll ruin your life. Actually, it I don't know. It might not, unless you are the type of person to get hung up on other people's interesting stories. I don't know how to say that. What to say? I don't know. I don't know. So I decided that I would try applying for, and this is what happened twice now. I decided that I would start applying for Microsoft positions because I knew that by around this month of this year, the contract was going to be up for renewal. We still had no idea whether the contract was going to get renewed or not. Um, and it just seemed like a good time to transition out of that role, out of that experience, into a new opportunity, into more adventure and stuff. While I was only applying for Microsoft positions because that's where I would leave in a heartbeat and accept a position from them, I got contacted by the Sagetti recruiter, by a few recruiters actually, that were like, we can meet your salary requirements and we have these types of positions available working in .NET, working with the technologies that you love, but we're going to pay you what you think you're worth. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll try them. There's no harm in trying them, right? So I ended up interviewing for two places, and both of them were really interested in having me. And I ended up accepting the offer from Sagetti because it sounded like I'm going to have the opportunity, which I know a lot of people were, hazarding me against. This is what it's, this is what they make it sound like is going to happen, and here's what could most likely happen because they've experienced it themselves or they've worked at other consulting firms. And sure enough, I mean, I'm kind of experiencing that. But I accepted the position here. And while I was here, I'm still applying for Microsoft positions because I would love to work at Microsoft. I would love to contribute to the developer experience and make software development even better for the just developers. And of course, create, innovate, make new systems. It's what I want to do. So I keep applying for that. But then I got contacted by a Google recruiter that hadn't talked to me for about a year. And so I was like, I really don't think that I'm ready for it because I just moved to a new position and it's a completely different tech stack. I work in .NET. I'm most comfortable with .NET. And then through conversation, we were like, well, I guess it wouldn't hurt to find out where I'm at. So I may as well try an interview with Google. And if it doesn't go well, then I have another year to decide whether I would want to try again. So I ended up interviewing with them. And then last Monday, I had the full half day interview. The full half day interview. It's like a whole family. Anyway, I did the half day interviews and I'm just waiting on feedback. Um, but I think I did well enough to maybe be invited to explore what opportunities they have. They might extend an offer for a couple positions if I'm being optimistic. If I'm being slightly pessimistically realistic, I'm thinking I didn't do that well on the second and fourth coding challenges. But I think that I did enough to let them know that I can learn and that I would be a good one to work with. Would you take a non.net job? I was waiting for you to correct that. Um, I would if the offer is right. I mean, I keep saying to myself and out loud that money is not my major motivating factor. It's the type of work that I'll get to do. So if they offer me something that is you get to work in this field doing this kind of innovation, yeah, and we will pay you this amount of money that is probably more than a threshold that I have set in my head, then I would accept the position if it's using a JavaScript stack, Java, C, C++. Because it sounds like Google works a lot in C++ and for their front end stuff, of course, JavaScript, but or not even front end, for their web applications is what I meant to say. They use a lot of JavaScript. So I would I would be conflicted, but my biggest desire is to work on some kind of technology that would benefit developers, make it easier for developers to write software. And Microsoft is a leading um, company that focuses on that. So yeah. Okay, that's my story. I'm done. Um, no harm in trying. It depends on the length of the contract, I guess. Yeah, and so that's the thing. Sagetti is not a contract. Sagetti is, I'm a salaried employee that is an FTE. I'm a full-time employee at Sagetti, which means that I just have that the employee agreement that I would need to adhere to while I work for Sagetti. Um, but Blood Drunk says, "Congrats on the move. Thank you. I've been having a ton of fun with the project that I'm working on though, and I like it's one of those projects that if I could tell you who my client is, I would be like, you gotta check it out. You gotta see this app that I get to work on. And I get to use Maui and I get to use Blazor and it's just so much fun. So it's gonna be a hard choice if they offer me a position. Um, TC Hacking. Yeah, I'll be able to do that all by myself. I'll read it. I'll read off your comment in a second. Blood Drunk says, any subjects you think they asked you about that you stumbled over, or do you feel confident? Yeah, so there were a few things that were. It was mostly nerves, but I talked about it yesterday, so you'll see that video on YouTube today if you feel like going back and listening to my. Wait, was that yesterday? Tuesday. I talked about it on Tuesday. What day is it? Yeah, so I did talk about it yesterday. Today's Wednesday. I talked about it yesterday where I essentially kind of gave the gist of how the interview went because obviously I can't talk about the actual interview questions or, yeah, just the interview questions themselves. But I did talk about the overall concepts that I struggled with. And just to summarize it, the main thing that happened was the first coding interviewer, was asking about actual terminology that I wasn't familiar with in that context. And then because I stumbled over that, the rest of the interview from there, I was reaching for stuff, not quite being able to grasp onto it, and then um, just felt like I needed to stop going back and forth like I usually do. I mean, you'll see me do it on stream a lot where I'm talking about this thing over here and then I'm like, let's do that. Wait, instead of doing that, let's go back over here for. And I felt like I was doing that too much during the interview, but I was at least talking the whole time and communicating with the interviewer, finding out if they were still tracking where I was going with the thing. The other thing that happened during that interview, though, that I was not expecting was the interviewer was constantly looking everywhere else. And so, like, I would be able to put a pattern together, like when you're looking over here, you're looking at the camera as you're talking to me because you look, or not the camera, but my video on your screen. But it looked like he was over here working on something, over here writing his notes for the meeting, down here looking at me, up here looking at something. And it was like, you're kind of making my nerves get frayed with how much you're looking around, which I know I do on stream as well, but you guys can at least see my screen, so you know what I'm looking at. Um, so it was just kind of nerve-wracking. Nerve-wracking. Nerve. It's a bit much for my nerves. You sounded like someone starting their stream. Hush, you. Not fair. Zulia says, does a salaried employee not have a contract of employment? Actually unsure about the correct lingo with that, but I didn't separate between those two when I made that quip. Contract is usually shorthand. DC Aggie responds, contract is usually shorthand for independent contractor, aka a 1099 employee, meaning the company is your customer and not your employer. Versus a salaried employee, a W-2 employee who is on their payroll and is employed by that company. So there are employment contracts still, or they're still called employee agreements though, when you're a salaried employee. You may have something like a recruitment incentive where they give you X amount of money as long as you stay on board for 1 year or 2 years or whatever the amount of time is that they pre-purchase from you. They also have 2 other R's. So there are 3 R's when it comes to the recruitment process as far as incentives. The recruitment incentive, the relocation incentive, and the retention incentive. Is that what the 3 R's are? I'm trying to dip into my previous HR. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. Obviously. So recruitment, retention, and relocation. Absolutely. So recruitment is the I am bringing you on board. I'm not exactly sure how that differs from retention. So that's like someone that is already an employee and they are thinking about resigning, and you say we want to keep you on board. So here's a retention incentive, provided you stay here for X amount of years. Exactly. Yep. So the employee agreement portion of that would be, we will give you this amount of money if you stay on or upfront, and if you leave before the term that we paid you for, then you will either need to pay back the full amount, which would be the worst case, or the amount, prorated amount. DC Aggie says, but it's very confusing. In the federal DoD, for example, being a contractor might mean you are an independent contractor, but it also might mean you work for a company who has a contract with the Fed, which is what I was in my previous job. I worked for International Computing Systems, and they had a contract with Department of the Army for the Rocky Mountain Arsenal project. So I was a salaried employee, but I was a DoD contractor. So yeah, it gets muddy. Then DC Aggie said, my job in DC had fine print where I had to pay back my relocation stuff if I didn't work for at least 2 years. Yep, that's always worth asking about. Hello, dat kid dude. Hello. Hello. Let me read off these other ones real quick, and then I will answer your question. Thanks for asking. Blood Drunk says, in the UK, it's slightly different. I know most of you are in the US. I don't know if I would say that. I think we have a pretty good split of EU and Central Asia, Western Asia, Western and Central Asia people watching. So in the UK, we say contractor for a person working under a contract for a company as a third party, and contract just defines any piece of paper signed. Yeah, so I mean, it's still kind of the same. Obviously, stipulations are completely different based on the content of the contract. So it's just, yeah, whether you in the U.S. a contract employee, specifically that phrase, is someone that is hired on a 1099. A I can't say that because of the thing that DC Aggie brought up. Um, but I was going to say a W-2 salaried employee is a full-time employee, or not even full-time. It's just a salaried employee. You could be working part-time. You could be working on an hourly basis, but you are employed by the company on a W-2. Yeah, that one was kind of, yeah. But the terms contract, the noun contract is either the piece of paper that you sign or the idea of an agreement between two parties or two or more parties. So then Live Coding said, yeah, the biggest example of that is allegedly Amazon gives you an immediate huge cash signing bonus. That's what they call it, a signing bonus in private sector. But the cash is not yours, doesn't even vest until 2 years in. So if you want to quit early, you have to pay it back, and you might have already paid taxes on that income the previous year. True. Same thing with DoD still. But usually the DoD recruitment incentives are paid on a recurring basis. And it's like you're on for the first 30 days, you get your first portion of it. But yeah. So then, Dat Kid Dude, hello again. What was your education path? So I don't know that I can say that my education path really was something that fully contributed to where I'm at now, but just because you asked, I started university in 2000. Actually, let me start with this. Before university, the only software and programming experience I had was a couple of elective classes in middle school and high school. Yes, I said middle school. For basic, I think I did a HTML course, maybe. But, and then I played a lot with Visual Basic 6 because I have no idea how this even happened. It's all still very fuzzy. But I was put in contact with someone that owned a company called just Voltron. Voltron. Votron. Not Voltron. I can't remember. It's either Vector or Voltron. So anyway, he was trying to make a chatbot, and that's what his company was. And it was like three guys inside of this small, looked like an apartment when I went in there, with computers set around on desks on the wall. And so he gave me a free copy of VB6, which, if you know, at the time, VB6 was probably a $2,300 application with the full MSDN library with it on 6 disks, I think it was, 5 disks. So I had that, and then I was playing around with VB6. But when I started university, that was my first real programming experience. That I was doing C and C++ my first year. I was in over my head. I did terribly. I failed a lot. I actually had to withdraw from my first entire year of university after failing through it. So I tried my hardest, but then I also didn't try very hard because it was my first foray into alcohol. So I hadn't had any alcohol before my first year of college. And I found out that I really enjoyed that and didn't know how to control that either. So it just got worse and worse from there, until around, and this happened year after year, um, until around 2004 when I decided, hey, you know what? I really want to graduate university. I want to be a software developer because I've always wanted to do some kind of software or some kind of science since I was little. So I didn't manage my drinking though until 5 or 6 years ago. It was recent, maybe 7 years ago though. Um, but anyway, point is, I made it through the next 5 years of university, and I got like almost straight A's in all of my core classes, and I still got C's and D's in some of my UGE classes. Um, and oh, sorry, undergrad classes, the general ones that every undergraduate needs to take regardless of what field you're going into, because I just didn't care for them. I wanted to learn computer science. So I did really well in the core classes, and I eventually graduated with a bachelor's in computer science. From there, I was still working at a human resources office for Department of Defense. And I have, yeah, I quit drinking water too. I mean, sorry. I drink water all the time. I quit drinking alcohol. Um, so yeah, I still drink coffee. So I was still working in human resources as a human resources specialist doing information systems where I was mostly working with Visual Basic for Microsoft applications and writing macros. But then I had the opportunity to work with .NET, and I helped with some web forms that the Human Resources Agency across all of DoD used. And then from there, I kept working in .NET applications, web forms, which was in VB.NET, then web forms in C Sharp, then web forms and WinForms, and ultimately, or then MVC, and now Blazor and Maui, and it just kept going from there. So again, the whole thing that university taught me was perseverance, determination, self motivation, self respect, and also the ways of the world. This is what alcohol is like, and this is what partying is like. I like being an introvert. I didn't go to very many parties, but I was in marching band also. So I went to a lot of parties. Like just about every Friday that we had a game the next day, the drum line would have a party, and I would be at the house that they had the party at, but I would be sitting in a corner writing code on paper for whatever project I was working on and drinking a lot. It was bad. Okay, so I'm going to catch up to chat. There was some good conversation coming back from that. Um, Live coding said to blood drunk sounds the same, honestly. Which was, yeah, similar to what the US calls contracting and contracts and stuff like that. Yep. And that's why I was saying the employee agreements that you sign as a salaried employee, those are contracts still. They are binding. They say that you are going to be doing X, Y, and Z while you are employed here, and you are not allowed to do this. Um, so Zulia said to Blood Drunk, no, I missed Blood Drunk's comment first. So Blood Drunk said, one of the first conversations I like to have with any potential employer is the removal of any sections I don't like. An example of that being a particularly nasty clause I found in a few contracts, which would mean they would own anything I do in my free time, justified by them saying they provide the employee the skills to do it, so it is ours. It's almost like the verbiage that's in my current contract. That's something along the lines of any methodologies that you develop while creating while completing client projects are the property of Sogeti. And it's going to be really hard to draw the line of which ones are new methodologies that I developed, which ones are best practices, which ones are things that I had already been doing even before starting at Sogeti, and which ones are ones that I developed on my own outside of work hours. So if we come up with something here on stream for here's how I structure my project, and I've never structured it like this before, and I end up using this same structure in my work product, is that considered me creating a new methodology that can be standardized and used across the board for my work product? Don't know. I'm going to say no because I'm doing this for me. And this is what I would have come to anyway, regardless of what my client project is. Um, Zulia said to Blood Drunk in response to that, just for reference, I'm German and not terribly exposed to job market terminology in the UK or US. Yeah. So there you go. Um, yeah, so we have people from all over. Absolutely. Live Coding said to Blood Drunk, yeah, I signed one of those agreements, and as I told people, it was fine because I didn't plan to create anything of value in my off time. And me, I do plan on creating things of value on my own time. I plan on doing a lot of my own personal development, especially when it comes to mixed reality, the metaverse, AI, AR, ML, one day. But by huge signing bonus, the number I saw was 50 US dollars. Just 50, not 50K, because I can't read, just 50 US dollars. I can't believe they give you a whole $50. Um, then Blood Drunk responded, it was pretty funny how awkward they felt when I said, yeah, I'm going to need you to remove that section. But they did, and I worked there for a few years quite happily. Awesome. And Julius was cringing at C++. I did enjoy C++, or C and then C++, and assembly. I also got to learn assembly during those classes. And I used to be able to be able to read assembly like it was nothing, because when I buckled down and dug my heels in, I understood it all. Like it just everything cleared up and I'm like, I get this. I understand this. Why was I having so much trouble with semicolons? Like I remember this guy, Murray? I think Murray was his first name. Anyway, he was my neighbor in the dorms my first year at university, and he was also a computer science major, but had a few years on me. And so I'd asked him for help a couple of times on my homework, and he would just do things like point at this line and be like, well, if you look at this, then blah. And I'm like, how do you see this? How is this an obvious thing to you? Because I want to develop that pattern too, where I can just recognize. It's like it's just how it is. You missed a semicolon right there. You missed a curly brace. And I'm like, I just didn't even get that much of it. I was still am such a noob. Um, Juan Bon said, ouch. Yeah, that'll do it. Glad to have gotten my drinking done in my teenage years. I quit drinking. It's better that way. Awesome. Yeah, me too. Me too. And then Dukesoft is like, I still drink coffee. I still drink coffee. My water is almost empty, so I will take that water. Mm. My water is almost empty and my bladder is full, which is bad because I don't want to take a break. We only have 2 hours together. I like communicating with you guys, conversing with you. Dat Kid says, can I just call you Dat Kid? I like calling you Dat Kid. Hello, Goku Jax. I ended up going back to school for software development, but I want to go into computer science. I started programming a year ago and have really enjoyed it. Oh, that's so good to hear. This is a community where you can feel like you're making the right choice if you choose software, regardless of what kind it is, as long as it's not JavaScript. Wait, no, that's not what I meant. Regardless of what kind of software you are pursuing, software development you're pursuing, including JavaScript. We just make jokes about JavaScript, although some of us are pretty serious about it. Um, but yeah, you're making the right choice. So if you feel like it, hop into our Discord, ask questions there, talk about your experiences, commiserate with us in our woes. Yeah, just feel free. No pressure, no requirements, no nothing. We're not that kind of a place. Once you join, you can never log out. Zulius said, I am glad that having an alcoholic father was formative enough to make me never touch alcohol in my life. Not that he was abusive, but I very much saw the changes in personality under the influence from a very young age. I think I did, but I have so much trouble remembering my childhood. There's probably some deep-rooted trauma that I blocked out. where I just don't remember things from when I was much younger. But my siblings have informed me of situations that have happened in the past with our dad, who at the time was making poor choices. He's definitely changed quite a bit, and I still absolutely love him. I love my parents; they're amazing peoples. But there were apparently situations that were not great that I have no recollection of. Um, but yeah, so apparently forgetting about that also allowed me to still develop that addiction. Blood Drunk says, if only the kids these days knew about web forms, WinForms, and ASMX. Oh, templates. So ASMX are the templates for web forms, if I recall correctly. Master pages, something like that. They're pretty much this main layout that we were looking at. But yeah, that kid says that's what programming is teaching me right now is perseverance more than anything. Awesome. Stick with it and you'll get that dopamine hit. Just try to associate the sense of accomplishment with the beginning of programming rather than you successfully accomplished this thing. And that's what got me motivated to keep on doing software was like I had always gotten to a point where if I tried hard enough, I would come up with an answer. I can't say that it's like the right answer or the best answer or anything like that. But now whenever I think about programming, I get the dopamine hit first, as if I had already gone through the struggle and then achieved the solution. And that's what just gets me so excited about it. And that's why I keep doing it and have no problem continuing on. Um, and you're welcome for the response. Live Coding said to that kid, yeah, I like to say that with programming, I always have trouble reading the first parts of the sentence because I think I've told you before, I skip to the middle of the sentence or scan ahead while I'm starting to read a thing. And then I have to jump back to the beginning. Sometimes I'll get to the end first and then go to the middle and then the beginning, and it's crazy. Anyway, so Live Coding said to that kid, dude, yeah, I like to say that with programming, you bang your head against the wall until something breaks. Might be the wall, might be your head. This is absolutely true. Juan Van says, that's normal with Apple to have that kind of contract. So from that previous conversation, DC Aggie said they just don't want to control the capital. They want to control your potential as labor. It's all super shady. I have experienced that too. Um, there were just some clauses in the employee agreement that I can't find again, but that were just making me feel like if I tried to, oh yeah, I guess the one that I've told you guys about before. So if you are thinking about employment with Sagetti, just be aware that one of the employment agreement clauses is while you are working for Sagetti, you cannot be accept work or do work that you're of the same type of work that you will be doing with Sagetti for compensation, even off hours. And so I was like, I want to continue helping my previous employer in the evenings when I am not on Sagetti time and they want to pay me for it on a very part-time basis. Can I do this? And so corporate HR was like, no, this would violate that specific clause. And I'm like, however, they are not in competition with you, nor are they your client. So I don't understand how this is a conflict of interest. But it's just the blanket statement that if you're performing the same type of work um, for compensation, then that's what violates the clause. So I probably should have looked at that a little closer. So the Master Rat says, on Discord, is there a way to float channels with new messages to the top instead of scrolling up and down to find them? I don't know. The only channel that I have new messages showing on are mine and the I don't even have the .NET one. Where are you? Discord, where are you? There you are. Okay, so my channel is the only one that gives me the indicator next to the channel that there are new messages, and the rest of them are either in folders or they don't give me the new message indicator if there are things that I want to pay attention to closer than they're just outside. Otherwise, I'll just go visit them on occasion. Like, what's going on in Irish John's channel? I love his shared stuff. Shared. I don't know where it is. Show off. Right above where we were. Because I was looking for shared. I love what people post in here. People are so creative. But yeah, this is the only channel that I actually have with unread being shown. So I don't know how to flip things up to the top. So within a server, you could minimize all of the channel groupings, and only the channels that have new items will display. So like TechSpace has some stuff. And then once I click off of that, it's gone because it no longer has new items. Ha ha ha. Live coding. Oh man. See, this is what I appreciate. So this is why I absolutely love having you in our Discord live coding. You give like dissertations on topics, and they're really fun to read. I use web forms every day, and then ASMX was main page. What do you mean to Juan Van? Oh, what channel is Twitch on Discord? I have no idea what channel Twitch is on Discord, but our channel, wait, Juan Van, you know where ours is, but I don't know what Twitch's is. You're already in ours. I saw you posting not too long ago. We make new apps in web forms. No, stop that. It's that whole thing that Tyrant said on Tuesday. What do you code? Well, we code future legacy apps. Like I used to work on modernizing legacy line of business applications, and then people were like, well, what are you working on now? And Tyron was like, well, he's working on future legacy applications, obviously. Making future legacy applications to be modernized. Live coding set to blood drunk, truly evil. Oh no, ASMX web services, contractual black magic. Okay, that's what they are. Then live coding set to blood drunk, truly evil. Sometimes I forget about how far we've come. Then he also said bonus. I vaguely remember that Java-based SOAP services weren't totally compatible with our .NET SOAP client. SOAP. SOAP is still good. Let's see if we can implement that in our app. Zulia said to one Von, this Twitch chat is separate from Discord. They are two different services. They could be the same service. I could have my Twitch bot connected to Discord and just have the chat feed inside of a separate channel that you could subscribe to. Once I set up the flippin' subscribe by clicking on an emote thing, integrity. I will get that done someday. I already have the makings of my bot. I'm going to work on moving the current commands from Stream Elements to the bot. And yeah, we'll start with that. That shouldn't be too hard. And I'm going to do it. My integrity says so. Sorry for making food, but you are absolutely right. I'm sorry, food? I'll take food. Live coding said it's shady but makes sense too because employees are shady and, for example, work 4 full-time jobs. And yes, if you believe the Hacker News comments, this is a real thing. Yeah, I'd be working 2 jobs. I'd be working 2 software development jobs. I would be working my salaried job that is guaranteed income plus my client work that I have clients that I do work for. if I was going to do that, but I'm not. So I'm not violating my employee agreement. Just to get that out there. It was a great time to be an engineer, though. Learning resources were super sparse, and you had to use your engineering knowledge to find out how best to implement using proper design patterns. Yeah, that you learned at university, and that was the only place you could learn it. Zulius then said to Live Coding, my apprenticeship project was a microservice and REST interface to it from our Power Builder app after the company just had dropped Power Builder SOAP implementation in favor of REST. Dodged a bullet there. Oh man, so nice. Live Coding then said, and to be clear, that's clearly a rare thing. And in theory, a person could maybe work 2 full-time jobs if everyone is aware, and it's all good and good on them. Right to work in America says you can work as many jobs as you can, and it's up to the employer to determine whether or not you are capable of fulfilling your duties in that job, kind of thing. Masterat said, by channels, I mean introduction spot spam. Ones with the hash. Okay, so yes, actual channels. You meant channels because I always get the terminology in Discord wrong. These are servers. These are channels. So yeah, if you just minimize a group, then you will only see the new messages for a given group. Channels with new messages for a given group. Otherwise, I don't know how to float the actual channels to the top when they have new messages. So many channels on servers spend 30 minutes just clicking. Yeah, true. DC Aggie says, my biggest problem with Discord is the tendency to end up with a million billion servers plus one. True. One then said, for some reason, I thought he was reading messages from another place on Discord. No, I'm just behind. I'm just a tiny butt. A little behind. Zulia said, but DC Aggie, as far as I know, I was going to do can tell effects. You can't be in more than 100 servers. Well, he was close. Then Dukasov said, only need 42 servers anyway. Zilia said to me, that's a bridge then. I don't know what that one was in response to. Can't remember. Dukasov says, I'll do it tomorrow. Zilia said to Dukasoft about the 42 servers, right, that covers life, the universe, and everything. Absolutely. TC Aggie said, right to work in America means that union membership can't be mandatory even at a unionized place. It's one of those deceptive lipstick on a pig names. But I did a lot of research into right to work when I was asking them if I could help out my previous employer for a 3-month contract at 20 hours a week on my time, and it wouldn't interfere with work. Do I have the legal right to do that regardless of what my employee agreement says? And it's like, I probably do, but they could still probably choose to fire me for not, for going ahead and working with the other company. That's a Bridge was a response to using a Discord bot to do Twitch IRC interactions. I know that pretty common principle as a bridge. Terminology. Now I'm going to trip up for the rest of the stream. You know what? I'm going to take a quick break. And then we will, for real, see something show up on screen that looks styled, such as our basic card. I'll be right back. quick coffee break. Be right back. That's what it should say. But I'm done with my coffee for the day. Okay, so let's do it. Let's get it done before I disfocus myself again. Our header, our card SAS for our basic card styles is going to look like a card is going to be display grid because I want it to be what, so that we can have our card header with our yeah, it'll justify itself. Oh, wow, what was I thinking? We will have at most 3 sections for our card header, or for our card. So that's going to be grid template rows. Thank you, Zulius. Auto 1FR auto. Just because I would like for our cards, if we give the card a specific height, then I would like for only the body to be the thing that kind of stretches and shrinks. And the header and footer will just take up the whatever height the header and footer are supposed to. That way, if we have cards that are taking up the same row in a grid that is outside of it, you're completely okay, Zulius. Plus, my voice is probably lagged by some amount. But yeah, so let's say we had 3 cards that are taking up the same row, and they all have a header that only has a H1 in it, and then a body that has some random amount of text, and then a footer that has the same size button. The header and footer will always be, whatever height they're going to take up anyway in that card. But then the body, I would love the body to be able to just stretch to fill up the rest of the space so that the entire card takes up the full vertical space of the row that all of them share. So that's why I'm doing it like this. So header doesn't really need anything special yet. So again, for the basic style of a card, we will have it be a border. We'll have a border of 1 pick solid. Why not? We'll just pick some random color because again, we are just going to be using this only for if I use display grid, then it's automatically going to go fully across. Unless I did justify content left, start, flex start. DC Aggie is lurking. All right, I hope you get to have some of the productive energy that I'm finally starting to put out there. Time to go pick up grocery order. Awesome. Okay, so what justify content flex start should justify items. No, justify items flex start should do is make this not take up the entire width. I'm gonna have to figure that one out. Is there such thing as inline grid? There is a such thing as inline grid. That's what I wanted. I didn't know inline grid was a thing. Okay, now I did. So we have an inline grid that currently has a border. We'll give it a border radius of something like 0.4 rems because I always like using 0.4 rems. And we will give our card header and maybe our card body as well. No, not our card body. Not our card header either. I was going to give our card header, card body, and card footer some padding. You know what? I will. By default, again, I will size these things and, do the bold. And, I thought that was going to happen, I was watching the all hands meeting that I had this morning, and every single presenter on there had the habit of saying the phrase you know as their filler phrase. I use and which is still better, supposedly, than you know. So I'm really, really trying not to say you know a lot, but it's definitely happening. There is a lot of you know coming out. So anyway, padding. We'll have a padding from the top on each of these. No, for the header, a padding of 0.4 rems. And I'm using rems because I do want everything to be based off of the initial font size of the entire application. Then I would like my font size, and this is the main reason why, is I'm changing the font size inside of here, and I don't want the padding to change based off of this font size. Font size is going to be 1.3 rems. What does that look like? Font weight. It's going to be bold. Beautiful. I don't like the ligatures. What are they called? Whatever. I'm going to change the font soon enough to a font that I prefer. Serifs. I don't like the serifs. That was really hard to think about. Body, on the other hand, yeah, once again, I am going to go ahead and make my card body have padding of top and bottom 1 rem, left and right 0.4 rems. So I still want everything to line up on the left, but I want more space between the top of the body area and the bottom of the body area and the inner content. Cool. Which is kind of why I want to put it in here, to be honest. I don't know, I put a 0 on that one and not the other ones. Ugh, ouch. I don't like that. Did I somehow forget to put maybe the... Yes, I have mail again. Which is not something I need to pay attention to. Did I forget to put the content in here instead of a card text? I did. Hot coffee. Congratulations, Dukasoft. You have won. You are a winner. Card links, same deal. Except maybe card links won't have a padding top and bottom. I don't know. Except that this will need to appear after the login button. So you won't have a card link, so it doesn't matter. Okay, and finale, the card footer. Just give it the same as the top. Which I guess means that you're just going to be... Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Stop asking. And not first of type. We'll have a padding top of 0. Yeah, that's how I want it to look. So I want the padding between card texts to only be 1 rem. And if I left this here, then it would have both a padding top and bottom of 1 rem between each card text. So maybe I want to do it this way. 0.5 rems, first of type, has a padding top of 1 rem because I want the very first one to only have or to have an extra padding above it. I don't know why, but I do. So what? What? What am I going to do about it? Cry? I thought so. So this is our basic card. I guess the other thing that we can do, since it's just a basic card and we haven't decided on any particular design style, although I do think that it would be nice if we could figure out how to get neomorphic design to work with this thing, but at the moment I don't know how to do that. We didn't come up with that in our design. So we will just have a normal card have a box shadow, box decoration break of 1 pix, solid. Wait, that's not how you do shadows. You say, how far to the right do we want it to go? How far down do we want it to go? How much do we want to feather it? And what color do we want? There we go. Okay, so basic card. What's the other thing? Do we want the card header to have a border bottom? 1px solid hash ddd. Slightly darker than the border, but lighter than the text. And then card footer, border top. Same thing, 1px solid king ddd. Cool. Okay, so we wouldn't normally get this. We wouldn't normally get the bottom border here showing because we wouldn't have a card footer if this card didn't have a footer. So we do have a card footer because we're going to put content in there. And that content is going to be a button. Type submit. So since we're inside of an edit form, then this submit is going to call whatever we have either on valid submit or on regular submit. But we're going to put it in on valid submit because we're going to have data annotations do all of our validation messages. We might even end up using Fluent validation for this for the rest of the app, so we may as well use it on the login form when we get to that. But it's also possible the login form is going to get moved onto a server rendered page, as is standard practice when you have a hosted backend in your Blazor app. We'll see. Handle login submitted. How do you feel about Blazor abstracting HTML like that? The edit model thing, or which? I don't think I'm understanding the question, but I would like to. And this will get an edit context. Okay, so the edit form component, that's kind of what Blazor is. It's all about abstracting HTML structure by using components. So if I wanted to, I could abstract out the label plus input text to be my input text group. And I would provide the label as a parameter and the thing that the input text box is binding to as a parameter. So then the only thing you would ever see inside of here is component, 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 component. And that's it. But yeah, so I don't know that it's that you're learning how to use edit form as much as and not learning how to use a regular form, because if the goal is that we want a new developer to start with learning Blazor, and that's how they're learning to do their markup, to do their CSS and everything, there might be an expectation that after the new developer puts together a page, so let's call this sign in, for example, they put their page together. We might ask that new developer, after you're done, go and inspect what was actually generated by your Razor markup. So in this case, when they make it all the way to the login form, then they see that, oh, a form was created. But again, like you said, there is that sort of abstraction here where, yes, I do have a form, but if you're learning HTML first, you would know that a form generally needs an action for some kind of endpoint and a method for the HTTP request type that it's going to be sending. And I guess a new developer would never really learn that if they're only using Blazor. So then the skills that they gain from just creating an application using Blazor components only would not translate to, all right, now try using React. Because they don't have this underlying pattern of a form looks like this, but then in Blazor you get an edit form which hides all of this. So it does that abstraction that you were talking about. So yeah, you make a very valid point where I feel fine about it because I learned HTML first. I think a new developer might struggle with being able to put together a page using different languages if they don't first learn the basics of HTML and CSS. And hello, Scott. Looking all crazy over there. Oh my gosh. What even is that? Deflex is back. Awesome. Back just in time to see us do some actual styling. Oh my gosh. Okay, so we have our login form kind of put together. The thing is that I would like to restyle the card for our current theme. So I'm already going to start getting into theming. To be able to have theming be a thing for our subcomponents, I need to do a little bit of extra work. That extra work is going to be having a card override SAS file that will get added to our application. Whoops. I just hit tab. And what this will do for me, maybe I'll put it before global styles. That way global styles still overwrites the card. What I'll do in here is I will say for our card structure, the background color for that card, for example, will be based off of some CSS variable, card background color, for example, which will be defined inside of root. And that will be var primary background color, for example. And this will just be our base theme. And when we create another theme on top of this, we'll just create another class. So like, let's say we had a theme called Boo. Then our card background color, when theme Boo is applied, will then be hash, whatever color we have in here for our Boo. What color are you? Are you the top bar? I don't know if that's the top bar. Excuse me, I'm trying to get a hold of the background. Oh, it's this one. Okay. This color. So then when I apply this theme boo, it's actually going to replace our card background color with this specific color. And actually what I'm going to do is have our primary background color be that color. And then this would be something more like just blue to show the difference. So here, our primary background color is going to get set to uh, this dark green, blue, teal, black. And then we overwrite that color with this color, and then that will also apply to card background, unless I want to override the card background color too. But just a sample of how we're going to do theming when we get to that point. So for now, I'm just going to use card background color. So we should already see a change there. Our foreground color, excuse me, is going to be var card foreground color, which again, I'm just going to have card foreground color in our basic styles, in our basic theme, be the same as or an alias to our primary text color. But this will allow me to make the cards have a different color than the actual rest of the app if I wanted to. Welcome back, DC Aggie. I hope you got your groceries and they were all there and no mistakes were made. But mistakes are always made. So there is that portion of it. And as we can see from our design, I'm not actually using divider lines. So I would also like to be able to set the card border color. And in this case, it is also going to be my primary background color, and that's how I'm going to hide it. Instead of saying in my card styles, just make those borders disappear, I'm going to change the border color. But not on the card, sorry, on header and footer. So card header, card footer. Save. And we're getting just that much closer to our login display. Excuse me. Oh, I forgot to actually, because it's not card border color. What I meant to say is border color, the actual property. It's a Kroger, so mistakes were made. So yeah, we use our local Kroger's, which is King Supers in Colorado, and it's actually been really, really good lately. We've been getting the same shopper, and she has just been zip, 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 finding everything. If she can't find it, she talks to the store people. There was one instance where we got like an extra itty bitty mayo thingy that we didn't order, and another instance where we got a different flavor of some frozen chicken stuff that, oh, it was fried rice with bulgogi, and not bulgogi, fried rice with kimchi, and we don't even like kimchi. And we ordered the bulgogi uh, pot stickers or something. I can't remember what it was. So we ordered something else and got something entirely different. We do we do pick up to avoid all the plague carrying public. I mean, you're still in a, well, I guess store employees would be a little bit safer because they probably have a more strict cleaning thing. Send any unwanted kimchi my way. Oh man, you like kimchi? It's been a long time since I've tried it, so I might like it now. There are a ton of things that I have that I absolutely love now that I used to abhor. Red onions, red cabbage, like raw red cabbage with mayo, salt, and that's about it. Just mayo and salt. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, they bring it out and put it in the trunk of their car. That too. Who knows what else they had back there. Why are my border colors not taking effect on card header and card footer? Does anyone know? Does anyone know what's wrong with this kid? Card header, border bottom is going to be this. Oh, border bottom color needs to be the thing that gets fixed. And border top, wait. So that's still not getting applied. It's getting overwritten by card. Oh, we ran into this before. I can't remember who I was working with, but we were like, why is my CSS not applying when I want it to? And the answer is that the styles that are being applied to card right now are coming from the isolated CSS imports. And if we take a look at my import.h or my index.html and my layout.html, shut up, phone. We're still having fun. Don't stop my fun. Here's our server, which will have our underscore layout. And here is our WebAssembly project with index.html. We are importing our isolated CSS after importing our main application CSS. And so any rules that come with our isolated CSS files will override any rules that we have in our application's CSS files. In our case, it's the ones where we want to override the styles on a card coming from a separate library that has isolated CSS on it. So I'm going to change the order of those. All right. Now we're going to control F5. Cool. So now if we take a look at card header, I still don't know why it's not applying the border color. Let me make sure also then that the order did change. It did. I'm still not sure why it's getting overwritten, and I really don't want to use the bang important on it. Specificity. So this thing is targeting, oh man, I'm going to have to use bang important. This thing is targeting card with an attribute selector, and this one is just targeting card. And so this one is more specific than this selector, and so that's why that one will be getting applied instead of this one. Oh, isolated CSS, am I right? Dang. I don't know of a better way to do this than... Oh, that's tough. I really do not want to use bang important. DC Aggie said, they bring it out and put it in the trunk of their car. My wife says, let's get Indian tonight, Dugasoft. Let's get Thai, bang important. Because Dugasoft said, I always put my name after my wife's name. That way I always override what she says. But yeah, gosh. What exactly does bang default do? Is that specifically a Sass thing? It's the reverse of bang important. So if a value is provided, then don't overwrite it. I think that's what the answer is. In our card component, if we put at the end of everything, at the end of the world, this will be the last thing that we do for today. Does this only work with CSS variable or with SAS variables? I think that might only work with SAS variables. Dang. I thought I was onto something. So what I was expecting to happen is if I use some kind of syntax at the end of each of my property setters, I would be able to say if another property is or another value is specified for this property, don't overwrite it, kind of thing. But what I think we're going to end up doing is supplying all of our variable values. Yeah. Ugh. That's going to be a consideration for the component library too. What I think we're going to end up doing though is for this app specifically, we are going to use card border color and card header border color and card footer border color variables in the card component itself in the isolated CSS for the card component. Otherwise, what I'll have to do instead is in my card override, everywhere that I'm overriding a value, I'm going to use bang important, which means that when I do my theming for my colors, well, no, that should still be fine because I was going to say I would have to rewrite all of my bang importance. But this should work, at least for now. Which probably means I really can do border color to affect both, and I can. And so there we go. We have something that is starting to look like this login form. The inputs, we are actually going to style in global styles because I want every single one of my inputs to be styled the same, as well as my form groups. So those will be defined in global styles when we get to that, as well as my standard button. And we'll have two types of buttons. We'll have the standard button and we'll have button invert. And that should work for us, I hope. So we're going to continue on with that. We're finally seeing some stuff on the page where we can prove that we actually are doing some UI work. It always feels like when you're doing designing and stuff and you don't actually see anything output, it's just kind of disheartening. But anyway, we'll pick up with that tomorrow. So there was a follow. Thank you so much, Sheg. I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce your name. SH3G5. SheG5? She. I failed. I failed at your name. Thank you for the follow, though. I usually stream Mondays through Friday, 10:30 a.m. Mountain Daylight Time through 12:30 p.m., which is now, which is a few minutes ago. 5 minutes ago, actually. So feel free to tune in again tomorrow. The only exception to that is on Tuesdays, I start 15 minutes early and 15 minutes early. Cheers to you too, DCaggy. All of my videos get posted to YouTube. Tikasoft, you're so good at this. All of my videos get posted to YouTube the day after I stream because Twitch. And yesterday's video should now be posted on YouTube since I scheduled them the day before to be posted at 12:30 p.m. on the day of. And also feel free to join our Discord, which Dukasoft already pasted out. Feel free to join our Discord if you feel like it. We're a good community. We have fantastic people with fantastic ideas doing fantastic things with their fantastic lives. And we want you to feel fantastic about the things you're doing. So yeah, feel free to join us on Discord. We try to be uplifting of each other and also help each other out. We don't want people feeling like if you ask a question, you're going to get shot, yelled at, whatever. I want you to feel welcome. I want you to feel like you can ask questions. So ask questions, answer questions, talk about whatever you feel like talking about. That's what we're here for. That's what we enjoy. I'll be hanging out in the Discord voice channel shortly after the stream, after I go and grab some yogurt or something. And yeah, until the next time, I will see you all again. And if you don't happen to be there for the next stream, then whenever you happen to show up again, glad to have you here. Sarcastic comment loading, but I couldn't quite get there. So I don't have a sarcastic comment still. Okay, ciao for now.